Buddha.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. It's the end of the week. You all made it. Hopefully, it's been a good week. Hopefully, you're all having a great day. The weekend is here. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Make sure you all hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this channel out with everybody you know. I know normally I do pre-games, but I'm doing something a little different this afternoon. So I got my guys Rob and Dayne. How we doing today, gentlemen?
Outstanding, sir. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
Doing
Rob.
good.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to be on here, and I'm glad to be talking with some positive stuff about prospects instead of the usual dread of this Yankee team right now.
Yeah. You know, it's been these last couple of weeks with the Yankees. It's definitely been a nightmare. It's a slump. I know, some people are, want to jump off the ledge. I mean, there's a lot going on right now with Yankees fans in general. So, I wanted to change it up though. I was wanting to get both you guys on for a while together because I had you guys on separate shows. So, I had a fun time talking with you guys, and I was like, I got to get both of these guys on at the same time, man, because you guys know prospects. I mean, Dayne, you've been doing this for a while. Rob, I know you've been doing this too, and you do an amazing job as well.
Rob does an amazing job.
Rob is fantastic. And folks in the chat, if you all have any questions, drop your questions because there's a lot of exciting prospects out there. I know there's been a lot of names that have been sticking out. I know Dayne, you've been loading up or putting videos out there. I don't know if it's you or Los for
It's
Yankees.
Los.
It's Los. Okay. So I've been paying attention to a lot of the videos and the stats that he's been putting out, and sounds like there's a lot of promise, a lot of excitement out there. So, I'll start with you. Any names that have stuck out to you that have shown improvement from, this season compared to?
I think the biggest riser for me is Agustin Ramirez. We had him top about 10th coming into the year. He's now the number 2 prospect in the system for me. He's past Spencer Jones. He is just absolutely dominated Double-A, and there's a reason why his coach called him generational. I really think he is going to be that. The other name that really has jumped out is Benjamin Cowles. Benjamin Cowles is a second baseman, third baseman in Double-A. He's hitting about 300. Good on base percentage, good defensive player at both second and third. He might be someone that is an option down the line. And Jesus Rodriguez is one of my absolute favorite prospects. Not sure what he is yet. He plays catcher, third base. He's played shortstop. He's even played second base, first base, and all 3 outfield positions. So he's played everywhere. But he's hitting well over 300 with an on-base percentage close to 420. And the kid is just got a cannon for an arm behind the plate. So those are the 3 for me.
Yeah, no doubt. And I see a lot of people coming into the chat. So shout out to everybody in the chat. My guy, Uncle Tats, is in the building. So make sure you all subscribe to the Pinstripe Chronicles, Empire State of Baseball, Rich Rivera.
Rich.
What's going on? We got Ken, Brad, Stephen B, Dev Finch, D-Rod, Frederick. Got a few of you in the chat. So shout out to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. So those are the names that have stuck out to you, right? And you mentioned Cowles. Can you tell us a little bit more about him? Because I'll be honest, I'm not the most familiar.
Neither was I. He was not somebody that was on my radar coming into this year. He was pretty bad actually in high A last year, but the Yankees had always seen something. He's 6'1", about 190 pounds, right-handed hitter, makes a lot of contact. And I think he's got 7 home runs so far this year. So there's not a ton of power, but there is some power. Good eye at the plate. I think he's an option for the infield next year.
No doubt. What position is he? I know he's an infielder. I was just looking him up real quick.
Second and third base.
Second and third base, which are big needs for this team.
They are.
As far as, I know you said he was 24, right? 24.
He's a bit older.
He's a little bit. Yeah, he is a little bit older, I will say. Could he be a potential call-up? Do you think? I know the Yankees have an influx of infielders. Could he be one of those guys that the Yankees could call up? I mean, not necessarily this in the future. Is it hard to say?
I think he's either a trade chip or a potential call-up for next year. I don't think that he's going to get a shot this year. He's not on the 40-man. And the sustained good performance hasn't been long enough for me to say that he's major league ready. He's had a really good first half, but we need to see more, in my opinion.
Okay. Good stuff. Rob, same question for you. I know you've been following prospects. I mean, any names that have stuck out to you?
Top for me so far has been Jack Neely. I'm looking at bullpen arms because we need it so badly at the major league level. And Neely is someone that they should absolutely get up on this roster as soon as possible. He had a really good showing yesterday in AAA. The stuff is there. We need strikeouts. He's got it. The dude's pumping gas out there. He's looked comfortable no matter where you put him. He was dominating Double-A. He's come up and so far so good in AAA. We know how the Yankees operate. They don't keep guys up there very long if they're playing well in AAA. I think Neely's someone they have to get a look at because he's just kind of blitzed through the system as we like to see. And again, desperation for this bullpen. Jack Neely fits exactly what they're looking for. We don't know what the closer situation is moving forward past Clay Holmes, especially with Holmes hitting free agency. Neely is someone that could potentially take that role in the near future. So that's my first. Second, and I'm gonna continue to say his name is TJ Rumfield. I've been a fan of him for a while, and I've seen him kind of really elevate his game in terms of just not being, because last year his power went up, but everything else kind of dropped. The year before he was a good hitter, but the power wasn't there. His defense has always been good. He's always been a really good defender, and I thank Dayne for giving me that information because I was trying to get more information about him going into the season, and I just like what he's doing. The numbers look really good in AAA. I felt like he would have been my choice to call up when Rizzo went down, but I'm perfectly fine with them going with Rice. I just wanted the defensive player, but his numbers have been really good to where he could get a look at some point. And they got to think about this because like Benjamin Cowles, he's going to be Rule 5 eligible next year along with Ben Rice. So they've already protected Rice by putting him on the 40-man. They got to make a decision on players like Cowles and Rumfield coming up, and Jack Neely as well. So there's some decisions to be made there with those players. And number 3 for me, I'm going to keep it on the pitching side. I've always liked Brock Selvage. I feel like he's really going to be, to me, he's going to be the top arm in this system going into next year. And it's kind of been up and down. He's had some clunkers. He's had some really good starts, but you want to see that when a player is working through stuff, it's not going to be perfect. Because if everything was perfect, the expectations would be through the roof for him. So you're seeing a little bit of a mixed bag, but overall the numbers have been really good. He's a good left-handed arm, and I like left-handed pitching. Selvage is someone I've been speaking about for a while that I feel like by next year, he's going to be that top arm. The same way we were talking about Chase Hampton being an untouchable, Selvage to me is that guy.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah. No, and I've seen some stuff from, Brock Selvage. I know Dayne has talked very highly of him as well. So, you guys talking about pitching, and there's one pitcher that we haven't talked about in a little while. I know his name has been brought up many times, especially during the offseason and spring training, and that is Will Warren.
Mm-hmm.
So I know he was struggling there for a little while. Is there a possibility that he could get called up? I mean, given the pitching situation, or does he still need time to develop?
You or me, Rob?
Whoever. Sorry.
I'll just say this. He's another Rule 5 eligible player. So that goes back to the previous statement I made that they got some decisions to make. He's he had a really, really rough start, like to a point where you were confused about what's happening with him because he was getting lit up every which way. He's been a little bit better lately, though. So I'm wondering if maybe they've changed his sequencing up a little bit, or maybe had him focus on maybe throwing some less pitches, maybe figuring out what his best pitches are, because Dayne's brought this up several times. He has about 6 pitches that he throws. Maybe it's about limiting it to that, trying to get it to about four of his best pitches and throwing those. I know lately his numbers have been better, but that early disaster of a season for him might be holding the Yankees back from calling him up.
I think that is what's holding them back, but the mechanics were what was out of whack all May. I mean, he got absolutely lit up in May. I think he had 2 outings where he gave up 10-plus runs. He's been a lot better this June. He's got 3 starts. His ERA is below 3 in those starts. He almost won that job from Luis Heel. Most of us thought Will Warren was going to get that spot from Heel. And with Heel struggling at the major league level right now, I think you might be able to see Will Warren later this summer.
Okay, so there's a possibility that he's going to get called up, because I know there's been talks of him that at some point he was going to get called up. We just didn't know when. I figured summertime. That's what I was figuring. And I know the Yankees have a lot of, especially with the pitching, they have a lot of bullpen guys in their system that could potentially get called up. Are the Yankees just saving these guys for like later in the season, for as the season gets deeper, is coming to like an end, if they're contending, that they'll get these guys called up? Or what do we? I was just curious about what your guys' thoughts on that, and we'll go with Dayne on this.
They have some guys that they are saving, like Scott Effross and JT Brubaker, who are both on their way back. Effross got moved to AAA a couple days ago. Brubaker is someone who I've gotten fantastic reports. His fastball is sitting 97 to 98, and he's got just a massive slider and a wicked changeup. So he's someone that could be a 3-inning option for them later this year. As far as prospects that are bullpen options, Luis Velasquez got off to a horrible start. He was somebody that I thought could be an option later this year. I still think Yoendry Gomez in a 1 to 2 inning role is a really, really good pitcher, even though he got lit up the other night, piggyback and heel again. But again, like Rob said, Jack Neely is the guy. He is the guy that needs to be on this roster, because I think he's probably could set up for us right now and be one of the better ones in baseball.
Yeah. Rob?
Yeah, Neely is the guy.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of injuries. Unfortunately, a lot of guys that would be options, like Beater, still hurt. Like mentioned Velasquez, he hasn't really gotten off to the best of starts. I think Danny Watson was another name that dealt with injuries as well. So a lot of these guys, unfortunately, have been on the shelf. The Yankees minor league system has taken a big hit with injuries this year, specifically in the pitching department. So a lot of that list is limited, and I think that's why they're kind of saving Neely right now, because if they called him up and God forbid something went wrong, they really wouldn't have many people available. So, and also like Dayne mentioned, with the guys coming back from on rehab assignments, Frost and Brubaker, they're going to add them as soon as they're healthy. So they might be saving Neely for potentially middle of the season, maybe sometime around August, September, as an extra call to get an extra arm. But I do feel like he needs to be here. Like, if they wanted to, they really could DFA Jake Cousins today and get Neely up here if they really wanted to. And I agree about Yoendry Gomez. As the other night was a rough outing for him, but 3 times out of 4, he's come up here and answered the call. He's got the strikeout stuff that we want. He's got really good stuff. And again, another player they'll have to make a decision on, because he's out of options now. He got the 4th option. They've used it. So with all these question marks going into the bullpen, we need to know what they're going to do with these guys. So Gomez, I'm hoping to see another glimpse of him later this year, because he's someone that should be in this bullpen moving forward. Same thing with Jack Neely.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. No, and again, I've seen highlights of Jack Neely. He's got some nasty stuff. I like his makeup. I like the way he, he looks soft on the mound. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if they called him up. Would it be a stretch to say that he could be a Clay Holmes replacement for next season if Clay Holmes doesn't come back?
No, that's not a stretch at all.
Okay.
That's who Carlos thinks is going to be the closer next year. What's unique about Neely is, like last night, he went two and a third innings. He can go deeper than 1 inning. So he's a really unique arm in that way, but he has such a high release point, being 6'8" and being over the top the way he is. It's hard to pick up the ball out of his hand. So seeing 97, 98 come at you from 9 feet, a 9-foot release angle is straight downhill, and it's tough to pick up. He's just, I think that he could fit any role in that bullpen we needed him to, but I think he's an eventual closer.
Yeah. So is he like a bull? Would you guys say he's like a bullpen version of like Randy Johnson? Just based on his age, or
Dellin Betances closer.
Okay, Dellin Betances.
He's got the power stuff that Betances had that made him so effective. Betances was a failed starter, but electric out of the bullpen. I think Neely can be that type of arm, and it's not a stretch at all to say that he could be closing games. He may even be closing games for this team in September, if we're being honest. He got that. His stuff is that good. He's shot up rankings to a lot of people.
That's impressive. Wow. Okay, that's actually exciting. Assuming that Clay Holmes has, a collapse, right? That this guy can come in and fill in that role. That's what I'm understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And I think that there's a couple other guys. They have a couple guys in Double-A, Bailey Dees and Zach Messenger, who are converted relievers that they have starting now. If something really got serious, I think they could go back to the bullpen. Both are Bailey Dees is 6'9". Zach Messenger is 6'6". They both have funky arm angles, hard to pick up. Zach Messenger's leading the Eastern League in strikeouts right now. So those are other pitching options that we have.
Okay. I'm going to grab some questions from the chat because the chat was dropping some questions. I think they were excited to have both you guys on. And this first one's from Brad. So here we go with the trade. Questions for you guys. If the Cubs dangle Bellinger, does Spencer Jones become available in your minds?
Not for that deal because Bellinger has an opt-out after this year. You're not going to give up Spencer Jones for 2.5 months of Bellinger. If he was signed longer than that, maybe. But I still compare Bellinger and Jones. I think that's Jones's closest comp.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade Spencer Jones for potential 2 months of Bellinger. Numbers wise, he probably would opt in to those final years, but it's possible that if he has a really good 2 months to end the season, let's just say the trade did go through, he kills it, the Yankees go on to win, even if they win the pennant, and he's a big part of it, he's probably going to test free agency again. And then you gave up 2.5 months. There's also you gave up Spencer Jones for 2.5 months of that. Then there's also the potential that we don't have Soto next year. So I know you're not going to replace Soto's production with Spencer Jones, but you're going to need a big bat to try to give you something close to what Soto could give you. And that's why Spencer Jones was considered untouchable. I personally would have moved him for some pitchers this offseason, but I understand why they didn't do it because they need to have some contingency plan in case they can't get Soto back.
No doubt. And this one here is from Ken. I know it's a lot of players that he's asking about, but he said the Rule 5 is coming up. Which 14 players should the Yankees protect? I know it's a lot of players to think about, but
Jesus Rodriguez is the top of my list. Ben Cowles should probably be on that list. I think Jared Cerna should be on that list. I'm not sure I'd protect Messenger. I'm not sure I'd protect Bailey Dees. Trying to remember who else is on that list.
I know Rumfield and Rice were. Barclay's on that list. Will Warren is on that list.
I would protect Will Warren.
Yeah. Hardman. I think Tyler Hardman's on that list. I don't think they do that. Watson and Neely were both on that list. Neely's an obvious protect.
Right. Absolutely. You protect Neely. I think Danny Watson is someone based on what he does in the second half now that he's healthy. I think he probably gets protected, but Scott Efros is a very, very similar pitcher to him.
And Durbin is on that list as well, I think. Caleb Durbin's a Rule 5 guy.
I think I would have to absolutely protect him. I think he's at second or third base next year for us. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame that he's hurt because we could use the help in the infield. And he's, again, a lot of guys that would be potential call-ups are currently on the shelf. Dominguez, Beater, Durbin. These are names that would easily be on this team right now, considering all the needs we have, and they're all hurt.
Yeah, talk about luck, right? I mean, a lot of these guys that could have been called up, but are also hurt. I mean, that's why, not to go back to the major league level, that's why the Yankees were making the moves that they're making, because they need some fresh players, fresh arms. Some of these guys that we were just talking about, they could have been called up, but again, injuries. So, and then Ken comes up with another question, and you guys talked about a couple. I know we talked a little bit backstage about which prospects you guys think are ready to come up to the majors. So, I mean, I know y'all said Agustin Ramirez is that guy. I know Will Warren, we said before he was ready. Is he still ready?
Yeah, he's ready. I'm not sure what his role would be right now, but like Rob brought this up last show that we did together. He was in the bullpen last year, and he pared his stuff down to 3 pitches, and he pitched to an 0.96 ERA out of the bullpen last year in September. So that is an option for Warren as well. TJ Rumfield's ready to come up if they need him. And Jorbit Vivas, the overall numbers haven't looked great this year, but the last 3 weeks have been impressive for him. And that is somebody you could see at second or third base as well.
So now I know Ben Rice got called up because I'm wondering about this, right? Could Ben Rice be potentially moved to the catch role? Because I know he's primarily a catcher. I know he plays first base. You bring up Agustin Ramirez. Does he back up Austin Wells or Jose Trevino? Like, how would that dynamic work? And I mean, if also, like, if you're trying to call up Rumfield, I don't know if he gets called up this year. I mean, there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of moves that the Yankees can make. But you're saying Agustin Ramirez can come up. Would he back up Wells, and they trade Trevino, or how would that dynamic work?
Well, here's the problem with Trevino. He's got the worst pop time of all the regular catchers, and his arm strength is down in the lowest percentile. He's averaging like 72 miles an hour a throw. That's a problem for the Yankees, and we saw the Red Sox expose that. Agustin Ramirez has a pop time under 1.8 or 1.95, I believe, and his arm was measured at 93 miles an hour a couple weeks ago. So that is something that he can control, is the running game. I'm not sure how the dynamic works because Trevino, while he's not a great defensive catcher anymore, he's still been the offense of the two right now. I'm not sure they get rid of that. Plus, you have Garrett Cole, who is notoriously finicky about who he pitches to. And, you brought up Ben Rice. He loved throwing to Ben Rice. So maybe that's who Cole throws to on those days. But they have so many catchers. It's a very, very interesting situation. And there's one other catcher. Carlos Narvaez is absolutely major league ready. He's a backup, but he's a really good one.
Okay.
And it's so interesting because Rice could be a catcher, but We want Wells to get more playing time. I could do without Trevino. I've seen enough of him. But as you mentioned, Cole loves to throw to him, and what Cole wants, Cole's going to get. That's why I don't think Trevino is going anywhere until next year. They'll maybe look to get rid of him. They don't have to rush Ramirez, but they could absolutely think about getting him up here as soon as possible because we need the offense, and quite frankly, we need the defense. So then what does that do with Austin Wells? Because if you're going to have 3 catchers, one of them is going to be sitting more often than not. And we know how every day at bats, I know we just got waxed by the Mets, but look what it did for Mark Vientos. They finally played him every day, and he's been hitting. And you're starting to see the signs of a good player because he was always the hype guy in their prospect system, one of their main guys, and he's gotten every day at bats, and he kicked our ass that series, and he's been really good this year. So every day at bats, especially for young players who are coming up, are very important. So if you carry 3 catchers, knowing that one has to catch Garrett Cole, you have to split time between the 2 other catchers for the other 4 pitchers. We know Rodon likes to throw to Wells. We know that Cortes can really throw to anybody with his slower stuff. You probably want the better pop time. That would be Ramirez. So you would have to do a lot just to get these guys at bats, and you would just hope that they're all good defensively. But this is a time where we need offense, so that's why I don't think they're going to call up Ramirez because it would just create this logjam of who gets playing time. They already have this issue because we want Wells to play more, but here's Trevino playing 3 out of the last 4. So we know that Trevino is their main guy. Until they move on from that, I would hold off on getting Ramirez up here because I don't want to see him fall into that same category that Wells is in right now. That's a platoon. That's not fair to him.
The one thing about that, though, is that Augustine has platooned his whole career. So he's used to doing that. So if there was somebody who could take 2 days off and then come back and hit really well, it would be him.
Got it.
That's
yeah. It's such an interesting scenario, just an interesting situation. I feel because I know not all the Yankees catchers are going to be coming up to the major league level. I mean, either they're going to at some point. I know they're going to either get DFA'd or traded, or whatever the case may be. Like I know Augustine Ramirez is a big name in the Yankee system, so. That's why I know. Does he take reps at first base? Has he had any reps at first base?
Yeah, but it's ugly.
Oh, it's
ugly.
So we'd rather have Ben Rice over there at first base.
If you're gonna pick a catcher to move to first, it would be Rice. Although preference, ideally, it'd be Rumfield because he's the better.
Right.
Obviously, he's the better first baseman. He is a first baseman, but if Ramirez is here, he needs to be behind the plate or DH. That's how they would get him at bats. But, yeah, you don't want him at first base. No. Only in an absolute emergency situation.
Okay.
Think Luke Voit, but worse.
Yeah.
Think Luke Voit, but worse. Whoa. Okay. Didn't think about that one. Woo. All right.
Yeah.
No, because I know, again, I've heard that he has taken some reps or has played first base, but from what Dayne is saying, it sounds like, no, that is a terrible idea. Don't do that.
Carlos was just there in AA to watch him play first base as well as Pete, and they just said, not yet.
Got it. Copy. All right. Let me grab another question here. This is from our favorite guy, Uncle Tats. He's asking, what numbers should fans look at to know the stats in the minors will translate to the majors?
I always look at on-base percentage and strikeout rate. The lower the strikeout rate, I think, is the better it's going to translate.
What's up, Grace?
Hi, Grace. And, we'll see. But those are the 2 for me.
Yeah, having a good on base is always a plus. I look at OPS. I don't look at a lot of advanced analytics for the minor leagues because, again, all depends on the level you're at. Like, you could be going against Class A guys, or if you're in AAA, you could be killing the ball against rehabbing players or retreads and quadruple A kind of pitchers. But you want to keep an eye on base. You want to keep an eye on that strikeout rate. That's very important. That's one thing that we're all looking at when it comes to Spencer Jones. How does that strikeout rate go? Is it going down? That's going to be a very important piece to know when exactly they're going to call him up, is when that strikeout rate comes down more. Strikeouts will always be part of his game, but if he starts to drop it a little bit, the same way we saw in the spring where you couldn't get one by him, then you'll know that he is as close to ready as can be. So you're looking at strikeout rate, you're looking at the on base, you're looking at slugging even, you're looking at OPS. How do these guys translate to power and all that? Batting average, you don't really look at that anymore, really, for anybody, even at any level. But those are the 3 ones for me. And on the pitching side, I'm looking at strikeouts and I'm looking at whip. Those are things that I'm not really concerned about ERA too much, but I'm looking at the whip and I'm looking at strikeouts.
Yeah, agreed.
Copy. And then here's another question from Brad. He's asking Dayne, is Watson expendable now or no chance?
I'm not sure why you would trade him. Maybe if some team wants him as a second or third piece, maybe, but I wouldn't trade him because I think that being 6'8" and having a flat arm angle like a Jeff Nelson back in the day, I think he can be a pretty good reliever for us.
Okay. And then let me just, like I said, there's a bunch of questions from the chat, so people are excited. And here's one from Frederick. He's asking, Dayne, do you think Jared Cerna is a long shot this year for second base this year? Yeah.
This year, yes.
I probably would have answered that question myself, but second base, and Rob, you're on the same wavelength, yeah?
Oh yeah. He needs to get higher up first. They're holding.
Guys, I'm gonna use the restroom. I'll be right back. Sorry.
You're good. Do what you got to do. Do.
I'm pretty sure Cerna's still at Hudson Valley right now, if I'm not mistaken. So they need to get him up higher than A-ball before they consider him. But he's a guy that could easily be here next year.
Yeah, no doubt. Like second base, because that's a weak position right now. I mean, second base, third base, those are both weak positions. And there's been a lot of talk right now with second base. As you know, Gleyber Torres, he's not performing well, although he is in tonight's lineup, right? But Dayne's just shaking his head like, I can't believe this. But no, your reaction says it all, man. But second base, I know Vivas, he's been coming around, though, lately, right? I know he's been struggling a little bit, but he's been coming around. And, what do you guys think of calling him up? I mean, he can't play any worse than Torres, I feel like.
Here's my deal with Torres. If he turns it around, he's the best second baseman we can get our hands on. If you look at what he did last year, there's nothing available on the trade market or in the system that's going to be better than that. And you got to think at some time Gleyber turns it around. In my opinion.
Hope. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know what the mental block is or what's going on with Gleyber, because last season he hit well. I mean, offensively he was really good. I mean, outside of Judge, he performed well. I mean, he couldn't do it all by himself. But this season, I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, the guy's just on I don't know. He's just hit rock bottom, I feel like, and it's almost like he forgot to play the game. And I don't know you guys probably know a little bit more than I do as far as what the.
I obviously don't know, but okay. I'll tell you what I think it is. He was under pressure to perform for a contract, and when Gleyber gets put under pressure, he doesn't perform well.
True.
And right now he's looking like he's lost $150 million.
Easy. So, Rob, your thoughts?
He's arguably the trickiest player I've seen, at least in the last decade or so, because we've already seen the glimpses of that he can be a very good player. 2018, he was, even before the juice ball, he had a really good rookie season. Him and Andujar could have been A and B for Rookie of the Year if Ohtani was not in the league that year. That's how good they were. 2019, he was obviously phenomenal. 2020, I don't count that against anybody. I've said that before. 2021 was the shortstop year, and even then, his power was down, but he ended up being one of our like top 4 offensive players. 2022, he bounced back in a big way, and then last year he was our second best player. You can actually make the argument he was our best player because Judge missed as much time as he did. So the talent's there. He's a better defensive second baseman than he is, but just like Dayne said, he's in his head. He is obviously in his head. He wants the contract, but he also wants to stay a Yankee. And he knows that the more this keeps up, the fact that he's been benched for a couple of games, the fact that Boone is now starting to say things like, oh, that got my attention with the lack of hustle. It's like he knows that his time here is up and he loves being a Yankee, which is why I feel so bad about the fact that he's probably gone. And seeing a player just go completely south from where he was a year ago, you're hoping that he turns it around. But we said that in April about him. We said it in May. We're saying it here. It's about to be July in a couple of days. How much longer can we keep saying, well, when that Gleyber turnaround comes, it's going to be fun to watch? Like we're basically 3 months into the season here and it has not happened yet. So if it doesn't happen starting tonight, or at least by the All-Star break, it might not happen this year. And so that's where Vivas's name does come into the equation. If Gleyber Torres is producing like this, which is next to nothing, negative offensive and defensive player right now, why not give Vivas a shot? If by the All-Star break, Vivas is still hitting like this and Torres is still playing the way he is, where they have to consider benching him and to give him a reset for 2 or 3 days, why not give Vivas a shot? He's the only guy left from that Gonzalez trade. Well, they got Gonzalez back technically, but why not give him an opportunity? Because it can't be worse. And you're not going to get much on the market at second base. There's maybe 1 or 2 players that are realistically available. One I don't think is available, and he's a third baseman, and the other one is Rengifo, who every team in baseball might want on their team at this rate. So you're looking at very, very slim pickings. So your hope is either Gleyber Torres turns it around or Vivas gets up here and does fire on all cylinders because they need it.
If Torres isn't starting, he hurts you, though, because he only plays one position. And if you have to put that on the bench, that's tough.
Yeah, because the thing is, I don't like a lot of people are saying there's a lot of fans saying you could trade Torres, but I'm like, you're not going to get anything back for him. And I don't know what team would want him right now. I don't know what you could get back from him if you were to trade him. You're not going to get anything of value back. The time to do it was, either this past offseason or a couple of seasons ago. And I know at the time, we talked about how, they almost had that trade done with the Marlins, but then they asked for Oswald Peraza, and the Yankees pulled out of that deal, right, for Pablo Lopez. Is that right? So It's almost like that deal. They should have done that deal because considering the fact like now Peraza is not really at the major league level. He's not panning out, unfortunately, which it pains me to say that. And don't get me wrong. I've said it many times. I like Torres. I do like him a lot. I want the guy to perform well. I want him to play well, but my goodness, man, it's like, it's always a nail biter with him. And he had some great seasons in the past, but he's unfortunately, he fell off. Especially this season, he's fallen off. I mean, I suppose if John Birdie wasn't hurt, he'd be playing right now, probably for Torres. But unfortunately, he's hurt. Another injured player. So
he's probably out for the year.
Oh, no way.
It was a bad injury.
That's
you can barely put weight on it.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, man. Oh my God. Okay. Well, fans, you heard it. So I thought he was maybe going to be back like around August or so, or September even. But it sounds like from what Dayne is saying, he's out for the season. He's done.
Not for sure, but if he comes back, it's going to be September, and we simply just don't know yet.
Got it.
Because the injury is so bad.
Yeah, so I guess at this point, why not? Right? Why not call Vivas? I mean, I would almost say let's call Peraza too. I mean, again, is he any worse than Torres?
Yes,
Peraza? He is. Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Offensively, it's a mess right now with him. He does not look good. He's hitting 175 or something like that. And it's not pretty. The strikeout rate isn't good. There's nothing that he's doing well. Right now, he's a speed and defense guy off the bench is the best case scenario for him.
Wow. And it's a shame because they, like you mentioned that trade a few minutes ago. Hindsight's always 20/20. Had they made that move, we're not having this conversation right now. And we have Pablo Lopez in the rotation, and we're not worrying about Gleyber's mess. We're not worrying about what Peraza could have been, but this is a situation where the Yankees never really gave him a fair shot, and then the injury happened, and this is what you get. He's 23, and it looks like a failed experiment. This was I said this earlier on the show this morning with Tats. This was a top 3 prospect for us, not
top 2
outside of the top 2. Yeah, depending on what site you looked at, he was right there with Volpe. There was conversations about who's going to play second, who's going to play short, because they were supposed to be the future. And the Yankees said, we'll call you up, but not play you every day. And then when you saw him get every day at bats, he was really good in 2022. He even started a playoff game. He was clearly the best defensive player they had there, and it just completely fell off. They held him out of trades. They held him out of a potential Castillo trade. They said he was untouchable, and they didn't treat him as an untouchable. They treated Volpe as an untouchable. The second he got here, he didn't stop playing. But with Peraza, it was just play and then sit, or come up and then sit. We saw them call him up for a day before Davis was activated. So it's a lot of it is on the Yankees doing, but Peraza hasn't necessarily helped his stock because he's performing like utter garbage right now. At the very least, if he was performing, a team could call them and say, hey, can you put him as part of a trade for an infielder? Like if you gave the Angels Peraza and another piece for a Rengifo, it might seem like a whatever kind of move, but the Angels need players that are going to help them in the future. Rengifo's only got 2 years left and he's a bit older. That's something that you can do, but right now Peraza's got 0 trade value. That's why I mentioned earlier, maybe you give him a shot just to see if he can unlock something. But it's asking a lot for a player that seems to be in a limbo right now.
I think one other thing with Peraza is he added about 10 or 15 pounds of muscle this winter. And I don't think his body has adjusted to the added weight. And I don't think the swing has gotten back to being balanced yet.
Got it. Yeah. I just feel like right now with second base, there's a glaring hole. It's quite obvious. I know we talked about second base. We talked about third base. And we'll talk about third base here momentarily. But I feel like, yeah, Vivas, I mean, my thing is why not call him up? Why not give him a chance? If, Torres is going to continue on this trend of performing badly at the plate, which we've seen, and defensively, yeah, he's got a few there's been some moments where he makes some excellent plays. But there's been more moments. Oh, lost Dayne there. But there's been a lot of moments where he's made some pretty silly errors, man. Some really silly errors, and I do think that he needs to, that it leads to the games, to the Yankees losing. So here, you good, Dayne?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I don't know how much of the conversation you caught, but I
didn't miss anything. It just dropped me backstage for a second. I have no idea why.
Okay, no worries. But I just feel like right now I feel like Vivas makes the most sense. My thing is, why not bring him up again if Torres continues playing badly? I want to give Vivas a chance and see what he can do. I mean, he can't be any worse than Torres.
No, I don't think he can be.
Yeah, and
can't
Torres
be worse than LeMahieu either. It can't be worse than anything. Like there are 3 infielders right now that I believe LeMahieu might not be playing tonight, but Jahmai Jones in the line again, he's DHing. I mean, you can't tell me that Vivas couldn't come up here and do better than either one of those 3. I know it's asking a lot, but sometimes prospects don't always pan out, but you can't tell me that he couldn't come up here and at least produce like a 230 average, which would be a lot better than what we're getting from any one of those players right now. So, yeah.
I agree.
I'd much rather see Vivas than Jahmai Jones. I'm like, all right, Jahmai Jones is a type of guy that he's a pinch runner. He provides speed, but other than that, sadly, he doesn't provide anything else. I want to see the Yankees bring guys up that are going to help this team win, that are going to help them produce, wins. But I don't know what they're thinking on their end, But it just seems like a lot of times they rely too much on the older players. So
I think Caleb Durbin could be the guy that replaces Jahmai Jones, because Caleb Durbin not only plays the infield, but he also plays the outfield as well. And he's a guy that does not strike out. It's below 10%, and he's got incredible speed. He's a 75, 80 grade runner. So he could be that guy that comes in and you put in the old Volpe role down at 6 or 7, playing second or third base, and he can run. He can create problems on the base pass for other teams. I think he could be a really big piece for this team in the second half.
I was going to ask, could Durbin have been called up?
Yes.
If he wasn't hurt? Okay.
Yes. If Durbin wasn't hurt, he should be up playing second base or third base every single day.
Yeah, no doubt.
Should have made the team out of the spring, if we're being honest. I thought he had a really good spring. Jahmai Jones had an okay spring as well, but Durbin, to me, was a guy that should have made this team. And this whole thing is right now, I know we're talking prospects, but this is an opportunity to give Torres, just DH him, and you can give Vivas those at-bats and play him at second base. Or
That's
if
a
Durbin
really good
was healthy,
idea.
Durbin would be playing second right now, and you can DH Torres to make sure he just has to focus on one thing. Get that bat right. We don't have to worry about the glove. I don't know why he didn't take this opportunity to do that. When Stanton was out and he said it's going to be at least a month, why is Jahmai Jones 2 out of the last, I think, 4 games now or 3 games? Jahmai Jones has been your DH. Why is it Jahmai Jones? Why is it not even Oscar Gonzalez given that opportunity?
Why isn't it Augustine Ramirez? If you just want offense, put Augustine at DH, and he's going to produce more than just about anybody else.
Yeah.
These are puzzling decisions that the front office makes, that even as good as things have been this year, like record-wise, I know we've hit this tailspin, but they still do things that remind you of the old ways. It's just like there are players out there. You can't tell me that Jahmai Jones is a better option right now than Vivas or Gonzalez or Ramirez or even Rumfield if they wanted to go that route. All of these guys would give you better at-bats. And this is a 4th bench piece that we're talking about in Jahmai Jones, and he's playing almost every day now.
Should I much rather have freaking Trent Grisham fulfill that role? At least he's doing something, But but to your guys' point, though, I mean, why not plug in Augustine Ramirez? Why not plug in Vivas? I mean, I'm fully confident that they could do better than Jahmai Jones. There's another name that nobody talks about, and it's mentioned in the chat, is Greg Allen. Even
he's hurt.
Oh, he's okay. He's hurt. I didn't know that. Oh yeah,
so many injuries.
Yeah, holy smokes. Yeah, no, it kind of clicked with me now. Yeah, he is hurt, but he could be a guy that could fulfill that role too. I mean, there's other options besides Jahmai Jones. I don't know. Again, I don't know what the Yankees are thinking. I don't know what Boone is thinking, but I mean, I'm glad that they called up Bryce. I'm glad that they are giving him a chance, which tells me that the Yankees are willing to give the younger guys, the younger players, a chance. And I know that's something that Hal Steinbrenner has said, that he wants to give the youth a chance, and they deserve it. They should. You gotta play these guys. I mean, you got to call them up. I know not all of them are going to be able to come up. I get that, but there's certain names I feel like that should be getting a chance. You guys agree?
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And question from Rich from Empire State of Baseball. Make sure you all subscribe to my guy and his channel here. Yankees will unfortunately have to make a move that might gut us as fans of the farm. Who do you think will be a realistic trade chip come the deadline? And I know this was something that Dayne kind of messaged me about, but I wanted to ask you what prospects, I guess, with this question, what prospects could be traded, and who's on your list of players that you want to get?
As far as guys, I only have 3 untouchables in the system right now, and that's Jason Dominguez, Augustine Ramirez, and Henry Lalane. Other than that, I think everybody could be traded for the right player. Whether the right player is out there to move a Spencer Jones or a Arias or a Lombard is another story. They have a bunch of pitching depth. Again, Zach Messenger, Bailey Dees. You could see a number of pitchers moved because they deal 40-man guys usually first, or guys that are going to be Rule 5 eligible, need a 40-man decision. So I think those are names to look to be dealt. But I think the biggest trade chip right now is either Jesus Rodriguez or Carlos Narvaez. Carlos Narvaez had a 5-for-5 performance on Sunday with got on base 6 times, raised his average up to about 280, 15 doubles, 7 home runs, something like that on the year. And he could be a nice piece for a team that's rebuilding, like the Marlins, the White Sox, and the teams that the Yankees are looking to make moves with are the Cardinals, White Sox, and Marlins are the 3 teams that they're looking at the most. So you got to look and see what their needs are.
Yeah, and go ahead, Rob.
No, I was going to say Narvaez's numbers have actually been really impressive. I think his OPS is close to 870, something like that. So his numbers have been fine, and as Dayne mentioned, he's definitely ready if we needed to call somebody up to be a backup catcher, and he could start for a lot of teams. And like you said, the teams that we could be dealing with, it's slim because everyone's in contention. Even the Cardinals, they're still in contention, but it could be a situation where they have a surplus, we have a surplus, they can help each other out. Those are the kind of moves that we're going to be seeing. It's not going to be, we're going to go pluck this guy from Colorado or this guy from the Angels, this guy from the Marlins. If we can make a move with them, great. But the Marlins options for us, it's basically Tanner Scott right now because I don't think we're getting a starter. There was some rumblings about Jazz Chisholm earlier today. I don't think that's happening. It would take a lot to get him. Rightfully so. He's really good. The Angels, you're looking at maybe a Rengifo and a bullpen arm or something like that. So it could be a situation where there's a team in the NL that is in contention but has a need. We have a need. I would like Tommy Edman from the Cardinals, but he needs to get healthy first. And I don't know if they would move a player like that. If he was healthy, because they have so many players that are infielders, outfielders. Edman is a guy that has a year left after this year. He'd be a perfect option for the Yankees if he's healthy. I'm hoping he is getting healthy by the deadline. And if they fall out of it, you look at that. So, again, you're waiting to see what happens on July 30th because Houston's on a tear right now. I was hoping they wouldn't be because I would love Alex Bregman on this team.
That's my guy. That's the guy that I want is Bregman. But again, they're looking at Vlad Jr. right now. They're trying to get him. They don't have the pieces to get him really, but they're in discussions about it. If Bregman becomes available, he brings in that clubhouse presence of the playoffs. He's won. He knows how to win. That's one thing that we don't have on this team. Is someone who has World Series experience, and he could be that guy. But it's going to be up to what Cole and Judge say about him, and even to a lesser extent, Soto. If those 3 okay him, I'd be fine with him coming here from Houston. But you got to see what Houston does. They don't really have the pitching to go deep in the playoffs. So they're a little bit more of a realistic franchise to deal with because, they don't have the starting pitching with all the injuries they have.
So as far as Bregman, right? Let's just say
Mhm.
hypothetically speaking, and I know some fans are not fans of Alex Bregman, but
Right.
that's a conversation for a different day. I mean, they need pitching. Who would you guys be willing to give up to
Clayton
trade?
Beer, Will Warren, and another piece.
Interesting. Okay.
He's a rental, and it depends on if they're in the race. I don't think they move Bregman, but if they're trying to stack up on arms for the future, Warren would certainly be a player. Beater could certainly help them out, like you said. And really, you could give them a Bailey Dees as well if you wanted to see how he does. If they don't trust Gomez, I know they've stretched him out as a starter, maybe as a showcase for other teams. You can go that route. They need a lot of pitching, so that's where, and we have so many guys in our system that are finally getting healthy, like Ray Zellman and Cam Schlitter. They're finally throwing, so we have a lot of names that people really don't talk about or don't know yet in the bottom of the system. Like you mentioned, Lalani's an untouchable. I agree. I don't move him, but even Carlos Agranje is someone that you could look to move. And he's been throwing. I believe he's doing some sim games, or he has been.
He pitched the other day.
Okay,
And he's been up to 102 with the fastball.
right. So there's names out there that could entice teams if we wanted to go the route of a Bregman or entice the Astros.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because there's a few teams that are obvious that are probably going to be obvious sellers, right? And that's the White Sox, Marlins, Angels. I know particularly with the Marlins, you heard names like Tanner Scott, you hear Andrew Nardi, AJ Puck, right? These are three names that we're constantly hearing amongst a lot of the fans. I mean, would you guys trade for any of them, or was there another pitcher or another bullpen guy that you guys would consider that we haven't talked about? And what prospects?
I've got Tanner Scott is the guy to go get, in my opinion, because not only is he the left-hand strikeout guy that we need, he also can close. And with Clay Holmes' issues closing, it wouldn't hurt to have another closer or somebody who can handle that role. Again, Rob brought him up earlier in the show, but Jack Neely could be that guy as well. Mm-hmm. But as far as a left-hand reliever, Tanner Scott's the guy. As far as a name that we're not thinking of, and it wouldn't be so much for this year, Ben Joyce is pitching in the Angel system right now. He's a kid that throws 104, 105. Biggest problems are command and sequencing. What does Matt Blake fix the best? Command and sequencing. Mm-hmm. That might not be a bad option to be a piece that you look at and go get and build up for next year, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what would that trade look like with Tanner Scott? Because I feel like you got to give up some pieces to get him.
Every team's going to want him, though. That's my thing, because I would love Tanner Scott on this team, but he's probably the best arm on the market that will for sure get traded. If they don't trade him, the Marlins are absolutely ridiculously stupid organization. He's a rental, and they're not going anywhere. They've already admitted that before the first month of the season ended. They're not going to the playoffs. So if they don't trade Tanner Scott, they're stupid. But that's why I don't think they go after the obvious name. But if they got Nardi, I'd love that. Ben Joyce would be a good project. And I want to give Dayne credit because going into the season, you talked about Hudson from the Dodgers picking him up when they let him go. He's been outstanding this year for the Brewers. I would have loved if they made that move. So when it comes to arms, if the Yankees get somebody, it might not be the obvious name. It could be a Nardi who's got bad numbers, but the Yankees can turn him around. That's what they've been able to do with these high ERA guys. Not every time. Like, I don't expect anything out of Tim Hill, but if they got a guy like Nardi who can strike you out and has good numbers in the past, they can unlock something in him. That's why I don't think they're going to get Tanner Scott, although he would be, and he should be, the top choice. But they'll be competing with about 20 other teams to get him.
Yeah, I agree with that. Brian Cashman never goes out and gets the obvious arm. He just hasn't when it comes to bullpen options. So it's going to be guys we're not thinking of. Jojo Reyes from the Cardinals is another name that gets brought up. He's a left-hand reliever. Strikes guys out. Might be an option.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering about that because I know, again, I don't know who the Yankees are going to target. I know us fans, we talk about a lot of the names that they're gonna go at or that they should go after, but we all know that every year they go after some name that we haven't heard of. And as far as the bullpen goes, I know they got righty options in their system. I'm more thinking like they're probably going to trade for a lefty because they are weak in that position. Because I know Caleb Ferguson, obviously, he's not cutting it. They DFA'd Victor Gonzalez, but then now he's at AAA now because no team claimed him.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, which I thought was
Yeah.
crazy. I thought it was crazy. I was actually surprised that they even DFA'd him. When they DFA'd him, I was extremely surprised. I don't know why they DFA'd him instead of Caleb Ferguson. That part didn't make any sense.
I think it's because he hit that kid from the Orioles after they were told not to.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Now, third base, obviously is a glaring hole, and there's nobody that can come up and play third base right now. I think we've talked about that on several occasions. But
The same guys that we talk about at second base are the
Yeah.
same options at third base. They
like Caleb Durbin, okay, Vivas could
Vivas.
play. Vivas could play third base. Okay.
He's better at second, but they used him
Right.
at third in the minor league showcase game or the breakout game in the spring. They actually used him at third, which I was surprised about. So they clearly like him enough to have done that. I don't think his arm is that good for third base, but the Yankees might think otherwise, and obviously they're making the decisions, not me. So if they wanted to, they could, but they just seem to be married to DJ LeMahieu and Gleyber Torres right now that I don't think they're going to make that move. And clearly they're married to Jahmai Jones because he's DH.
Yeah, no doubt. But I think the Yankees, I think the Yankees are going to trade for a third baseman. I think they have to. I mean, the third base is that's a weak position right now, overall, right? Because DJ's not the answer. Oswaldo Cabrera, I mean, he's not exactly the answer. I know JD Davis. I know clearly he's not the answer. He plays first base. So Rengifo, would he be a ideal guy to go after? I know I would love to have Ryan McMahon, but I don't think the Rockies are going to trade him.
If they did, it cost you one of Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones with what they're going to ask. So the Yankees didn't trade Spencer for Corbin Burns or Dylan Cease. They're not going to trade him for a third baseman like that.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know they don't want to give up Dominguez or Spencer Jones. So, I mean, Rengifo is I feel like he's the obvious choice that the Yankees should go after, but I'm wondering if that's even on the Yankees' radar. We don't know, obviously, but
yeah, they have been scouting him.
Oh, they've been scouting him. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What would it take to get him? I mean, what prospects would be involved in that?
Pitching
for Rengifo?
Yeah. Like what names would be involved? Would it be like a Will Warren or Chase Hampton?
Chase hasn't pitched yet this year. I don't think that they would deal him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe Warren, if that's what the Yankees insisted on. If the Yankees were desperate enough for it, then they might. Because you're probably looking at some of those Rule 5 guys. Like, remember 2 years ago when we traded for Montas, it cost us Medina and Waldachuk, and then the Efros trade we had to give up Wesneski. So you're looking at some of those Rule 5 guys. I don't think it will take too much to get a guy like Rengifo. His numbers are better than he usually does, but it wouldn't take you I don't think it would take a Chase Hampton or a Selvage, not one of our top arms.
No,
Got it.
I agree.
Got it. Okay. I was just wanted to pick your guys' brains about that, which we're talking about third base. I wanted to grab this question right here from Albert. And real quick, how are you guys doing on time?
I'm good.
You're good? Rob, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
All right, cool. Just want to be respectful, as you guys know. So, there's this question from Albert. He's asking if Rice to convert. I think he's asking if Rice was to convert to third, would his range and arm, could Rice play third with Rumfield promoted to first? No way. Yeah. Okay.
Ben Rice played a little third base in college, but it's not pretty.
Yeah, and you're seeing him struggle a little bit with the learning curve of playing first now at the major league level. So to teach him third base would be another experiment and potential disaster. So I get the idea of trying to get Rice in there as much as possible, but if that's the case, if they want a Rumfield here, they can DH Rice if they really wanted to.
Cool. That was an interesting question. I caught my attention, so I was like, yeah, I'll just have you guys take a look. And Damien wanted to know, how is Lalane?
Lalane he's still hurt, but he is working his way back. He told Carlos that he was going to be back throwing this week. So he should be back on a mound probably 3 weeks.
3 weeks? Was he? Oh, he was hurt too?
Yeah, after that Futures game, he's been hurt since. Shoulder issue.
Yeah.
Jeez.
A lot of our top.
Yeah, there's a lot of injuries. I mean, it's crazy, which, I know because Raziel the Great, what's up, Raziel? We have a lot of injuries, and it's feels, he's saying abnormal. I'm saying it's weird that the Yankees have a lot of injuries, but a lot of teams are experiencing injuries. I mean, we just heard I don't know if you guys saw the report with the Phillies. They lost both Schwarber and Bryce Harper, which I thought was insane. But
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, they're both on the IL. So yeah, that's gonna hurt them big time. So, but yeah, he's asking, why is our team having so many injuries? I mean, is it just, are they fatigued, or is it just a matter of them not taking care of themselves? I mean,
pitchers get injured nowadays. They don't have anything to grip the ball. They're holding the ball tighter and throwing as hard as they can. They get injured. That's just what happens to pitchers until they give them some kind of substance where they can grip the ball better. You're going to see those injuries continue to go up and up and up.
Yeah,
it's the unfortunate truth. Yeah, because they got rid of spider tack, whatever it may be, anything that you could use for grip, even if it was just sweat and rosin. Nowadays they go, that's too much, or how much is too much rosin? Nobody knows. So yeah, you're seeing pitchers trying to throw as hard as possible, try to spin the ball as much as they can without anything to really aid them. And there's no surprise that there's been a substantial amount of pitchers injuries this year. And going back to the ban of the sticky stuff, you see the pitchers injuries really skyrocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think pitching, I mean, that it's not just a Yankees thing. I mean, it's a major league thing right now, because there's been an insane number of pitchers that have gone on the IL, and it's crazy. I know the Yankees just recently got hit with the injury bug, and I feel like since that injury bug hit, they've been struggling heavily. And we talk about how if Giancarlo getting hurt, they could have easily called up Dominguez, but unfortunately he's hurt, right? We talked about it. Even Everson Pereira, he could have fulfilled that DH role potentially. It's just, I feel like for the Yankees, everything, when there's opportunities, these injuries hit at like the wrong time. I can't speak for other teams, but as far as our organization goes, the team that we follow, I just feel like this happens like every time.
Well, the one thing I would say about that is I think it's better now before the trade deadline than if this were to happen in August. If we were in August, we'd be stuck. At least we have the ammunition to go out and get anything that we want. Whether the Yankees choose to do that is another thing. But there's ways to fix the holes on this team between now and the deadline.
Yeah, I guess you make a good point. Just because it's better that, I guess it's better now that they get hurt now. If they're going to get hurt, better now than August, better now than September when they're trying to contend. Hopefully all these guys come back by August healthy, ready to go. But yeah, it's just crazy that it hit like all at the same time within the last like 2 or 3 weeks. So I don't know about you guys. Hopefully this next month this team can hold themselves over till the deadline. But if certain guys are not performing, I mean, let's hope some guys get called up. I mean,
Absolutely.
so you guys anticipate that at all? Do you guys see the Yankees calling people up, or do you think they're just going to be like, you know what, let's just roll the dice and um,
I
stick with what
almost
we
think
have?
that they have to call people up, especially bullpen arms.
Mm-hmm.
We have so many right-handed bullpen options in that system that we could use, and that bullpen is a problem right now. Let's be honest. And again, we've said this all show, but it starts with Jack Neely. Jack Neely fixes a lot of things that is wrong in that bullpen right now.
Jack Neely, yeah, Rob.
Yeah, we can say his name until we're blue in the face, but he's the most obvious. He's the most obvious one because everybody else is either hurt or not ready yet. So it's Neely, Gomez, who they just sent down, so they have to wait 10 days anyway. And unfortunately, Clayton Beater's injured, or else I'd be speaking about him the same way that we're talking about Neely. Those are two
Me
guys
too.
that, if healthy, would be here and should be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I figured, I really wanted Clayton Beater to be called up. I was surprised when he didn't make it out of spring training, when he didn't make the major league roster. I was a little surprised about that, but
He did make the major league roster. He was up for one game.
3 pitches, to be
Three
exact.
pitches.
oh, that was 3. Okay, my fault. Yeah, it shows you. I mean, he was only up for a brief moment, and then he got sent back down. So I'm surprised they didn't keep him around. Although it's probably a good thing, because then he would have gotten hurt one way or another. He got hurt and he got sent back. He would have gotten sent back down. He would have been put on the IL. So yeah, I just hope that he's one of those guys I want to see him come up. So I hope to see him up at the major league level, back at the major league level at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once he's healthy, they should. He needs to ramp it back up, but I don't think they should have sent him down in the first place because he threw 3 pitches. And had they not done that, he probably doesn't. Maybe he doesn't get hurt. I don't say probably, but maybe he doesn't get hurt.
Maybe okay.
So there's always a ripple effect, because by sending him down, he was throwing unnecessary innings in AAA. We've already seen him pitch well there. He had a great spring. He should have never been sent down. He could have been the perfect Michael King replacement, and they tried that with Loizaga. It didn't work, and they tried it with Hamilton. It didn't work. So Beater was the perfect guy to try that with.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. We'll slowly wind it down and bring the show to an end. I just wanted to see, any other thoughts, or anything else.
One thing, I have been incredibly hard on Anthony Volpe last year about the swing, the uppercut, the lack of arm strength, and boy, has he proved me wrong. I thought he was going to be the second baseman when Roderick Arias got here. I no longer think that's the case. I think Volpe is your shortstop for the next 10 years or longer. He has transitioned that swing, much more level swing, like we all wanted and talked about this offseason. And let's be honest, that arm strength has gotten a lot better as well.
Yeah, Rob?
No, that's actually interesting, because earlier I think Tats brought it up in the chat earlier. Does that change your opinion about Arias? Because I know you were pretty set on Arias being the shortstop and Volpe potentially moving to second. Does this change that?
Yes, it does. I absolutely think. Look, Arias is having a horrible time with his right-hand swing, the strikeouts, and the defense right now. The left-hand swing is still beautiful. He's producing from the left-hand side, but when you're a switch hitter, you got to learn from both sides. And I think he's got like 22 errors so far. I mean, again, that's A-ball. Jeter had 56 his rookie or his first year in A-ball, so a lot of errors can be fixed. But right now, it's not nearly what he looked like he was in the FCL last year.
Got it. So is Arias, because I know you were very, very high on him. is Arias a tradable piece, or can he still be useful to the organization?
Oh, absolutely can be useful.
Okay.
I think he has become, he was untouchable for me earlier in the year because of everything. I think you could deal him now because of the emergence of Volpe at shortstop. I think that position is on lock. So he would go to second or third base. He's got the arm to play either one, but so does George Lombard. And I like Jared Sterner long-term at second base. So,
yeah, I know you talked a lot about Cerna. That's another name because that's a name that like I said, you have talked about. I know I've heard Rob talk about him. So he seems to be a promise in this
yes.
organization. He's a hopeful, apparently. So got a lot of potential.
Yeah.
So what is his trajectory? I guess when is he supposed to be coming up?
He is stuck behind Ben Cowles, which is how he's been stuck behind Ben Cowles for 2 years. I think that's why we didn't see him up in Double-A last year. And again, he's playing well. He's hitting. I think he was leading the High A league in home runs not too long ago. But again, he's stuck behind Cowles, and until they get tested at Double-A, we really don't know what those guys are.
Yeah,
got it. And then one last question from the chat. This one's from Sunil. I know we talked a little bit about Bellinger already, but he's saying the bigger impact trade you'd make and why. He's asking if you guys would trade for either Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Cody Bellinger. And could you even make a case to augment both first base and the outfield and get both? I don't know that they get both. It's got to be one or the other. Yeah, I would tread slowly on that one personally, but
if you're looking at more likely, it would be Bellinger because they might get the Cubs to eat some of that money. I don't think the Blue Jays would do that on top of already trading a player in division. Knowing that there's a guaranteed extra year of Vladdy Jr., it would up that price. Also, he's owed a lot of money, and the Yankees have only so much they're willing to add to that payroll. If I had my choice, I would choose Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I don't know why people don't want him. Like, I've seen it in the chat here. They don't want Vladdy Jr. And I'm just like, do you not see who's DHing tonight? Do you not see what we're putting out there at first base when Bryce is not out there? I mean, if there was anyone to go get that would make an immediate impact on this lineup, it's Vlad Jr.
See, I'm the dead opposite. I would go get Bellinger before I got Vlad Jr. I'm not a Vlad Jr. fan. Plus, next year, he's probably going to make $25-26 million. And that's more money. I mean, we got Soto for 50. If we sign him, doesn't leave a lot of room to do a whole lot else.
Because Bellinger, what's his contract? Because I'm just curious. Because I know
I think a 3-year, but he has options after each year. If I think that's what it was, and it's like 20 some odd million. So you'd hope that he doesn't opt in. But my thing with that is, had Rizzo had a somewhat decent year, they would have picked up his option, and that would have paid him another 20 million. So if Vladdy Jr. would have cost you another 5-6 million, I think they can fit that in the budget along with Soto. So I think that's where I'm thinking, if you can get Vlad Jr. for one more year after this year, I would go get him. But I understand the want for Bellinger because he adds lefty pop, and he's a much better defender. Let's not get it twisted. There's no question who the better defender is, Bellinger, by landslide. But if you want that immediate impact bat, if you put him behind Aaron Judge, you're not going to get that. We can pitch around Soto and Judge and then go pitch to Gleyber or go pitch to Verdugo. No, now you got to pitch to Soto, Judge, and Vlad, and good luck, because then when some guys get healthy like Stanton and eventually Dominguez, it's going to be a tough navigation through that lineup. But Bellinger would certainly add that as well, because that would be lefty pop behind Aaron Judge. So I don't think there's a wrong answer there. It's just really who you prefer.
Yeah,
I'd love to see. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go for it.
I would absolutely love to see a lineup of Volpe, Soto, Judge, Bellinger, Dominguez.
Oof, that would be a killer lineup right there. I mean, with the whole Vlad thing, I think it's just, fans just don't like Vlad's attitude. And I think it's more. I think it's a little more emotional, which I get it. I get it. I mean, I guess the big question is would he be able to fit would he fit the chemistry of the team? And he'd be an asset for sure. There's no denying that. I think he'd be a great asset. But would the Yankees want to go after him? I guess that's the big question. But Bellinger, I mean, I feel he could be. He would be an asset too. But I wonder what if the Yankees trade for him, he could easily opt out, like you said, Dane. And if he didn't opt out, I mean, he would be getting paid big bucks too, just like Vlad, right? So
absolutely.
So,
but Cashman deals with a certain group of GMs, and the guy in Chicago is somebody he deals with a lot. So where he does not deal with the guy in Toronto very often, I would lean towards that direction if they made a deal just for that reason alone.
And they've made 2 trades with them since 2021. So the Rizzo trade, the Efros trade, that I'm sure they know our system pretty well. If Bellinger's available and that was the move to go make, then by all means, because I don't know what Rizzo is going to bring you if he even comes back this year. What can you expect out of him? Bellinger is better than anything Rice is going to give you. He's better than anything Rumfield would give you. He would give you a surefire thing at first base next year and a potential outfielder if need be. If Soto does leave and he would opt in, you'd have your replacement. So, I mean, it would be a very good idea to go get him. I just don't know if the Yankees are adding that kind of money. So it's kind of a fantasy to be like, which one would you choose, Vladdy or Bellinger? I don't think the Yankees are getting any of them because of the money that's tied to them.
Agreed.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we heard Hal in his speech. So, he's trying to stay under a certain threshold. And, I understand from his point, because it's not that it's not sustainable. I mean, that kind of payroll, but we could have, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I mean, I get where he's coming from, but
yeah,
but to his
Soto's got to be the top priority.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And I was going to say to Hal's point too, I mean, it's like, you don't need to be, you don't need to have a $300 million payroll to win a championship. I mean, other teams have shown that in the past. And I forget the number, but I remember, I think it was Hector that mentioned it a year ago on one of his shows. I forget the number, but it was like the Yankees spent from 2009 to 2023 in that range, like they spent like billions of dollars. I forget the exact number. It was something ridiculous.
Like 1.2 or 1.3.
Something like that. It was like 1.2, 1.3. And it's like, dang, they had nothing to show for it. So it's actually sad. But this is why, I'm not saying the Yankees should go all young prospects, but there needs to be a blend with the guys that they have right now in their system, and then mix that with some of the veterans. So there needs to be a blend. I mean, you can't have all old guys and just strictly old guys or just strictly young guys. I mean, there's got to be a perfect blend. I hope the Yankees are working on that. I hope the Yankees are starting to do that. They're starting to see what needs to happen in the future, long term, because there's a lot of potential there especially with the prospects that they have. And I haven't seen this many group of young guys that the Yankees have had that I'm just like, whoa, there's a lot of promise here, because it's been a long time. Because I know before they didn't really have anybody to call up like that. Now it's a different story.
They got another kid that I got to bring up real quick, Abraham Ramirez.
Okay.
Down in the FCL, he hit 720 last week. He's hitting over 400 for the year.
What is his position?
Second base, third base.
Holy smokes! So another one.
Yeah, it's a never ending, because you think about, we're talking about a lot of AAA or AA guys and even Class A. That Florida League, that's just in a couple of years. Valorio is going to join that list. We haven't really mentioned a guy like Christopher Familia today. Like there's so many names in this system that don't get mentioned enough because they're so far away. In a couple of years, you're going to be hearing a lot of these names. Like Arias is probably going to be within the next 2 years. He'll be in AA. maybe even higher. Lombard, the same thing. They're very high on Lombard. So there's so many names that are not even being discussed yet because of how far away they are. But the way prospects get called up nowadays, within the next year even, you could be hearing some of these names. That's how fast a lot of guys move up. It's very exciting because a lot of sites with top 5 systems in all of baseball, and they're starting to see the talent that's there in that golf league. So keep an eye on a lot of those kids down there because it's talented.
Brando Maia is playing really well too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Maia. That's another name again. I heard. I've been hearing a lot about. Again, all these names that I'm hearing about is both from you guys. So whatever information I get from as far as minor league players go, it's from the both of you. So I do appreciate it a lot. Like it's helpful to know what prospects the Yankees have and who's got a lot of potential and who could be trade pieces. But the 2 names that you mentioned, Familia and Abraham
Ramirez,
thank you. Were those guys IFA moves?
Yes,
okay.
Both of them.
Okay.
Familia is a little bit older. He's actually in Hudson Valley right now. He's a left-hand hitting corner outfielder. I think he hit .313 with 22 home runs last year in Hudson Valley again. So he's a very promising bat, decent defender on the corners, not a center fielder, but he's a good player too. But he's going to be Rule 5. He's 22.
22. Oh, okay. So he's young.
So you could see him get moved potentially if
right.
Let's say they did the money for a guy like Vlad or Bellinger. He's a potential name that could be in that move because he's very promising. And a lot of the names that we could trade, it might not be a Chase Hampton or a Selvage or even an Arias. One of them could go. I mean, the Yankees have too many infielders, so they might have to make a trade that hurts in terms of names. Because I know both Dayne and I, we didn't want to see a couple of the trades like the Brubaker trade, right? We didn't want to see some of these guys get moved. The Birdie trade as well, giving up Cruz. Like I didn't want to see Cruz go, but you understand that some of them just don't have a spot because if everything pans out, where's Cruz going to play, right? So you have to make these decisions on some of these players. It's gonna suck seeing some of them get moved because you follow them, but you understand that not everybody is going to make this team. There's only 26 spots. You can't have 26 infielders and 26 outfielders. It just doesn't work that way.
And another area that their 2 best catching prospects are down in the FCL. So, and that's over Agustin Ramirez. That's over all those other guys. So I think they're going to use some of that catching depth to go get other players at the deadline.
Got it. And with the catchers, with the catching position, how come there are so many catchers that the Yankees drafted? I mean, I get why, I understand, but I feel like the Yankees have so many. Are they just trying to keep their options open, or was it just a position that was like really weak for them?
It was a position that was very weak, and then they hit on all the guys that they picked up. They just have hit. They picked the right guys. These are not high dollar signings. Yuga Urias signed for $500,000. Justin Caprillion or Kappa something. He was a $200,000 signing, and the kid that's the best. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Rob, the kid that was ranked 12th on Fangraphs from the DSL. The young catcher that was just absolutely a defensive stud, but we didn't know about the bat.
I would have to look that up because I'm drawing a blank on his name too.
You said he was a catcher?
Yeah, catcher in the FCL.
Now I'm curious because I'm drawing a blank on his name.
$17.
He's 17?
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry, I'm just amazed at these young guys at that age.
It's not Perez. Is it Perez?
Yes, Eaglin.
Yeah, that's him. So yeah, I just looked it up, and you said 17. I was like, okay, because they have they have Hernandez there, who's a year older.
Right.
Perez, Sanchez is in there, and like you mentioned, Urena. So yeah, there's a lot of catchers, and that's a position of need for a lot of teams. So if in the coming years when they get better, like Agustin Ramirez shot up the system, it wouldn't surprise me if they moved him because of how much potential they have in the system right now. And that's a very strong part of the team is catcher. They Austin Wells came up pretty quickly. I know he hasn't panned out just yet, but you had Ben Rice, catcher. There's guys that like remember Anthony Siegler, he's still around. Antonio Gomez, he's still around. These are once promising players, so they have a lot of catchers.
Siegler's playing a lot of second base, and he's hitting the ball pretty well too.
I was surprised by that. They moved him to second. Usually a catcher will go play first or maybe the outfield, but they put him at second and seems to be doing pretty fine over there.
He's playing it with the other hand too. He was catching right-handed, and he's playing left-handed at second base.
Yeah.
No doubt. And these are guys that are in FCL? Correct?
No, he's in AA.
AA. Okay. I know
Perez, these are all like the Florida League. These are all kids that are years away, 17, 18, 19 years old.
That's insane.
They just signed a 12-year-old for the 2029 class for over $4 million. They've got
12.
Kids. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm in shock. Like I'm trying to find the words here, but I'm 12 years old. What position does he play?
Center field, shortstop, and pitcher.
Oh, you know what? I think I've heard you talk about him.
No, another one. This is a kid that just popped up. The kid you're talking about is Ruben Castillo. He also plays center field, shortstop, and pitcher. And he's the number one signing for next year's IFA class.
Wow. So that's two 12-year-olds. Is that correct?
No, there's a 12-year-old, there's a 13-year-old, and there's a 14-year-old that they have all locked up for significant money.
That's insane.
Yeah. Well, that's what the Yankees hit on a lot of their prospects is through IFA. It's only up until recently that they've been really much better in drafting. You have to go back to more like 2019. That's when their draft started to get a lot better. Because before that, they couldn't draft like at all. So it's been a hell of a lot better. But IFA is always where they're hitting on a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And as far as the draft goes, I mean, what exactly did the Yankees change?
Their scouting department, they turned that all the way over. They redeveloped their draft strategy. Instead of picking guys with the highest ceilings, they pick guys that they know they can improve now. Like if you see all the pitchers that they draft, they scout those guys and they know what they do well and what they can make them do better. So instead of going and getting a Luis Medina who threw 100 miles an hour and had no control, they're opting for guys like a Tristan Vreeling who has very good control and that they can improve the velocity.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Yeah, because I know in past years the Yankees haven't been doing a good job of drafting players, but I guess does that have to do with where they were in the draft when they were picking, where they were in the order? No? Okay.
No, they've always picked every year they're winning the team, whether they win the World Series or not, they're always picking in like the late first anyway.
Okay.
So, and then nothing has changed. I mean, I think this year they're still late 20s, so they're always picking late. And they've gotten used to it, but they've been hitting on a lot of these players. Like Lombard, we talked about this before, Dane, how a lot of teams thought he was going to go to college, but he ended up going to the Yankees and he kind of slipped to them. So the Yankees have been much, much, much better. Like that 2021 class is still very good. And a lot of those kids we haven't seen yet, but we've been talking about a lot of them. 2022, that's where Hampton came in. So I think last year's class has a potential to be very good as well. Kyle Carr,
Yep.
he's looked good out there. Rock Riggio's kind of turning some heads a little bit. So
yes, he is.
there's a lot of exciting things, and only so many places to put these guys. But the way the Yankees keep drafting, their farm system will continue to be top 7, top 5 in baseball.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know you guys could talk prospects all day. You guys, there's a lot of players. It seems like there's a lot of promise on this team, especially with even the young ones that are, 12, 13, 14, 17-year-olds. I mean, I know those guys are going to be a little while.
Yeah.
But it's just exciting to see a lot of these names that you all are bringing up and that have like so much potential. And, for, these young guys to be getting tied up at $4 million for, and they're like kids. That's the part that I find crazy. I'm like, they must just spend their whole time just playing baseball.
They do.
Yeah. It's like right when they're born, it seems like at like 2 months old. They're just like,
they go into academies about 9 or 10 years old, and that's when teams start scouting them.
with these academies, is it a school where they're going to classes too, like just like regular school, or is it just strictly a baseball academy?
It's a work study kind of thing. They have classes, but education is not the focus. One thing that the Yankees do better than other teams is they help them continue education once they enter the academy at 16.
That's
They
good.
push English, they push high school diplomas. They had like 27 kids graduate high school from the DR this year. So that's a big deal that most teams don't do.
Got it. Copy. No, that's it. That's just, yeah. Like I said, I'm trying to find the words, but it's just like it's all very like impressive. It's all interesting, especially with a lot of these kids, literally kids that are being signed at such a young age. But I'm excited for the future. I mean, you guys, the way you guys talk about these prospects, I'm excited to see what the Yankees do with a lot of these guys. Hopefully they get developed the right way and get brought up and they're given a chance to play. I don't know about you guys, but I'll close it out with this. I feel confident that the Yankees will do well with a lot of the young guys that they have in their system.
Absolutely.
And I think they're going to start really taking it more serious to utilize their youth. I think would it be crazy for me to say that next season that we'll probably see some of these guys come up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Seems to be the focus if they're not going to spend too much outside of Soto.
Mhm.
Look for guys like Rumfield. Look for Spencer Jones for certain. Brock Selwich is a name to keep an eye on. When he gets healthy, Hampton is a name to keep an eye on. So,
yeah.
And then the year after that, you could be hearing about Arias and Lombard. So, yeah.
Milane
as well. A lot of names to be excited about. And that's just a handful. There's so many other ones that are coming up that are finally playing this year. And it's exciting because we haven't had a system like this in decades.
Have you guys seen the switch pitcher that they're looking at in the draft from Mississippi State? Throws both left-handed and right-handed. He throws 98 right-handed, 96 left-handed.
Wow.
7 pitches from the right-hand side, 4 from the left.
So he's got a plethora of pitches that he can throw. What's
Mississippi? He's from Mississippi State. It's a very island name. I couldn't pronounce it if I tried.
I'm trying to look him up here. Sainja?
Yep.
Sainja? Yeah, it's just that's how it's pronounced according to the search, but
there he is. Yeah. Okay. Gerangelo, yeah.
Sainja. So right-handed pitcher, he's also a left-handed pitcher. And he's says he's getting better as he gets older.
Mm-hmm.
So he's
Dad was a player.
So what is he, like a Jim Abbott but better?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Mid-90s from both sides, and it's legit.
And the Yankees are looking at him?
In the first round. He was just mocked to them a couple days ago.
I mean, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind if based on what you said, I wouldn't mind the Yankees picking him. I mean,
No.
pitching is always important. So, the more pitching, the better for the team. So, yeah, I would love to. Oh my God, I gotta look him up now. After we're done here, I'm definitely gonna look him up and watch some highlights. But
take a look. It's impressive.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look him up. But yeah, anything else you guys wanted to say or wanted to?
Thank you so much for having me, Rob. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah,
man. Thanks
for
having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate you guys coming on. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I know I had you guys on at separate times, and for a few months there, I was like, I got to get both of these guys on at the same time, and I'm glad I was able to. And you guys have a lot of great insight, and Dayne is laughing at something there, but
no, I'm just smiling because it's
Okay.
always fun to chop it up with you guys.
Yeah. And it's been, and Dayne, I know with you, it's been a hot minute. So
yeah,
I see you on the Twitter Spaces, but it's always nice to have it here like live. And Rob, we're always interacting with each other, man. And Dayne, I talk to you guys so as well. But thank you guys for coming on. It was great to have the prospect. I refer to you guys as the prospect bros because that's what you guys are. You guys are definitely
sounds good to me.
Yeah, you guys are prospect bros. The
like
DNR, we could call it the DNR or the R&D research.
R&D works really well.
R&D, we'll go R&D. But that's what we got, folks. Thank you to everybody who came into the chat and talked to us here. So appreciate you guys. You guys were awesome in the chat, asking great questions. And the chat was interacting with each other. As always, guys, make sure you guys subscribe to the Pinstripe Chronicles podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe to NYYU and Yankees Farm. They do amazing work. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Share this channel out with anybody you know. Your guys' support is greatly appreciated. We will definitely do this again at some point. I don't know when, but we'll sit down. We'll talk. I'll reach out to you guys and we'll get it figured out. And Yankees are playing tonight. They're playing here soon. Let's hope for a win. We'll see what happens. I know the lineup isn't really exciting, but Stroman's pitching. Maybe he'll bring us something. I know he did in his last start. So let's just hope for a Yankees win. Other than that, and obviously if news comes out, we'll let you know. And you all have a good night. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Later.
Peace.